a deadly mass shooting in Mississippi near the Alabama border. 6 people killed at 3 separate locations, and overnight a 7-year-old girl is among the victims. What we've just learned about the suspect, now in custody. Here's ABC's Alex Prochet.
Tonight, authorities say that this man, Derica Moore, is behind one of the worst shootings in state history, leaving 6 people dead, including a 7-year-old girl.
There's some cases just that they've got to get the worst punishment.
The Clay County Sheriff says the suspect's trail of terror began just before 7 last night, when the 24-year-old alleged gunman shot and killed his father, Glenn Moore, Uncle Willie Ed Guinness, and older brother Quentin Moore inside a home. Then he allegedly stole his brother's F-150 pickup, drove to another home, and forced himself inside, where they say he attempted a sexual battery with a handgun before killing a 7-year-old relative. He then allegedly drove to a third home, where they say he shot and killed 2 brothers, Barry and Samuel Bradley. Moore was later taken into custody without incident.
This family, to lose this many family members, at one sitting, it's just hard to imagine. So that's the reason I'm saying they definitely need our prayers.
Wait, tonight authorities say that they are still searching for potential motive in what is now the deadliest mass shooting of 2026. Wait.
All right, Alex Prochet for us tonight.
First and foremost, before we get started, I'd like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekah Quadash, and double honors to the elders of Great Millstone, while I learned this truth, and also to those Philet that are scattered abroad. I like to say, Shalom. Come back here today with another great and powerful lesson through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And the type D lesson is Mississippi mass shooting. Man foe shall be of his own household. So I like to say shalom to all our listeners and learners. Hope this will help you today and guide you back in the path of righteousness and back to your true power, which in fact is Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So we seeing that 2026 is being very prophetic. And also we know that the Lord is constantly bringing forth his judgment. First, my judgment will start at the house of Israel. So we seeing right now that the Lord is bringing it, left and right. So we seeing right now that now things are constantly picking up. We're seeing people now that the love of many is constantly waxing cold. We're seeing all sorts of increased violence. Also, mass shootings everywhere. All sorts of death and destruction. And out about we know that we're here. The Lord is bringing forth that judgment. That's what we're constantly seeing. The Lord is getting ready to purge out the rebels. That's exactly what we're seeing. Do anyone perish being innocent? No, they don't. And one thing about it, the Lord have power over life and death. So we seen in the video, that this guy had unalived 6 people, including his father, his uncle, his brother, 2 other brothers, and I think it was a 7-year-old, if I'm not mistaken. But we're going to get a little of this news report. But we're seeing right now, these things are constantly increasing. Also, we know that this is a spirit of vengeance. So the Lord's constantly bringing these things left and right, and one thing about it, it's a fearful thing to fall in the hands of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. The Lord's constantly handing down judgment each and every day. That's why we're constantly warning people. These people are constantly scoffing and mock. People are scoffing and mock the prophets, you know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, the Lord said, do his prophets no harm. Touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm. So one thing about it, that the Lord is not playing right now. It's time to get your mind right. It's time to repent and return to your true power. 2/3 shall be cut off and die. One thing about it, they shall know it, death by pain. That's what we constantly warn you about. A lot of people still think that this is a game, but all the game's about to be over. So they'll look at this, he was crazy. He was on drugs. He had some type of mental problem. But one thing about it, this is all the will of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. This man was a spirit of vengeance. The Lord used him to take care, of all those that was unalive, and made the Lord have mercy upon them. It's a tragic thing, but this is all the will of the Lord. One thing about it, we already know that the Lord has have power over life and death. So, the Lord sanctioned this to happen. The Lord said, I kill, I wound, I make alive. I do all of these things. So the Lord, he create good, he create evil. So that's where we at right now. So a lot of people still don't understand, how really the mindset of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. They still talking about white man Jesus. Everyone can be saved. The Lord love everyone. But the Lord, said, I come not to bring peace, but a sword. We constantly warning you left and right, a lot of our people, they don't know the Lord. They thinking that they know the Lord. Woe to them that desire the day of the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And see, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. That's why all these things are constantly happening left and right. So let's get a little bit of this report, a quick lesson through the spirit and the power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, which in fact, this is a very tragic, but these things gonna constantly pick up. And may the Lord have mercy upon the family member. May the Lord have mercy upon the guy that did this wicked deed. But one thing about it, once again, this is judgment from Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. Whether you will hear or whether you will forbear, whether you believe it or not, we really don't give a damn, because the Lord is going to constantly bring it. You know what I'm saying? This Christianity got a lot of people very effeminate, very weak. Why did this happen? Why did he do that? Why did the Lord made it happen? You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, you know what I'm saying? Hey, once again, we're here. Let me quit talking and get this news article out of the way. It says here, NPR, this report is by NPR, says 6 unalive in Mississippi shooting rampage, authority says. So, right here, I'm from Mississippi, but one thing about it is that I know how things happen in Mississippi. And one thing about Mississippi is one of the hardest, a very cruel place that you can live in. Racism is at its highest. But one thing about it is that we know right now that the Lord's constantly bringing forth his judgment. So this report came out January the 10th, just yesterday. It says a shooting rampage across 3 locations left 6 people unalive in Clay County, Mississippi. It said on Friday night, in a case, officials are calling one of the most hindrance in recent memory. Said the suspected gunman is in custody and has been charged with murder. Says here is that the victim ranged in the age from a 7-year-old girl to a 67-year-old man. Clay County Sheriff Eddie Scott told reporters on Saturday no other injuries were reported. He said, at this point, we do not know a motive for these acts. Scott says, we know the motive of these acts. You know what I'm saying? One thing about it, we know that this is judgment from the Lord. It says here, the victims included the alleged shooter's father, uncle, and brother. The unnamed 7-year-old was also related to the alleged perpetrator. So this is all we're going to get of this right here, because I got more video to bring it out. But we're seeing right here, this is very tragic. But one thing about it, we know that a lot of things are going to happen like this left and right. And one thing about it, once again, this is judgment from the Lord. So we're seeing that 2026 is constantly as very prophetic. We know that the Lord's going to bring forth judgment. We know that rumors of wars are all over the place. We're seeing that, that tensions are rising right here in America, civil unrest, civil war. And also we're seeing that right now all the nations are preparing for war. Also we're hearing about what pestilence, this super flu that is constantly, increasing. A lot of things is happening, plagues, disease outbreaks. A lot of things happen. The love of many is waxing cold. Increased violence, wickedness is increased. A lot of things is constantly happening, iniquity, all sorts of abomination. That's what we constantly seeing left and right. These things are picking up. So we already knowing about the shooting that happened in Minnesota, the one that happened in Portland, now in Mississippi. So a lot of people might say this was a psyop, could have been what you call MK Ultra. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things, this could be propaganda, but one thing about we knowing that this is all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. So whether this is engineered or manufactured, but we already know, but it's engineered and manufactured through what? The Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. So we seeing right now that these things gonna constantly pick up. A lot of people always want to ask why this happened, why that happened. He was such a good person. This happened, that happened, whatever. But we knowing that it is judgment of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people, they can't see through this. Delusion that they're under, you know what I'm saying? This Christianity, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people are messed up, and also white man Jeebus Cross has burned a scar in their head. They can't get it. They see things like this, a lot of people fall to pieces. And most of these things going to constantly pick up left and right. So when the Lord shows the body count is going to be great, the Lord is getting ready to unalive billions of people. But a lot of our people thinking that the Lord is soft, someone to be played with. But the Lord is no one to be played with. That's why these things are constantly happening. The Lord is bringing forth that judgment each and every day. So now let's go here and get a quick precept. And I hope I wasn't rambling. Let's go here first to Zephaniah. Let's go to Zephaniah chapter 3, and we go straight to the point. Verse 1, it said, the just Lord is in the midst thereof. He will not do iniquity. Every morning doeth he bring his judgment to light. So he faileth not, but the unjust knoweth no shame. So right now we're seeing that the Lord right now is bringing forth his judgment each and every day, day by day. First, my judgment would start at the house of Israel. And also it says that the unjust knoweth no shame. You know what I'm saying? People that, pretty much not considering the signs of the time. You know what I'm saying? You're not, are not aware. You're don't know who you are. You don't know who your true power is. And also you don't even know that we're upon judgment. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people right now, going on with their daily life, and they'll look at this, it was such a tragedy. Why did he do that? He was on drugs. He was mentally ill. He had need to get some help. But goddamn, guess what? He did the will of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? All these people that was unalive, it was judgment from the Lord. Do anyone perish being innocent? No, they don't. So one thing about it, I go into reincarnation, but that's a whole nother lesson. But see, a lot of people think they just this is their first time being on earth. So people right now very ignorant. They have a lack of knowledge. That's why a lot of these things are coming upon people. They see this and they say, oh man. And also this will cause Esau Edom. You know what I'm saying? We're not ignorant Satan device. He'll bring forth more what? Gun laws, bring forth his agenda more. So we're going to see how this fan out, but we know that these things constantly happen each and every day. So let's read this in the NLT. It said, but the Lord is still there in the city, and he does no wrong day by day. He hands down justice. Look what he's doing right now. And he does not fail. Said, but the wicked know no shame. So exactly that man right there, he was doing the will of the Lord, whether you believe it or not. And one thing about it, they thinking, a lot of our people don't think that the Lord won't do any wrong. The Lord won't kill anyone. The Lord love everyone. Making the Lord like he's very soft. But the Lord is a Negro man from the tribe of Judah, a steer man. He's getting ready to return. You know what I'm saying? When he return, it ain't gonna be no more talking. That's where we at right now. So we seeing that judgment is constantly, it's being handed down each and every day. And the Lord is getting ready to purge out the rebels. They shall know it, death by pain. And also you go to Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 8 through 9. 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. So the Lord's cutting them off left and right because they were that same rebellious house that did not want to return to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. So now let's go here to Job. Let's go here to Job chapter 4. Then I got a few more videos to bring it out with a little bit more edification. We're going to get a little bit more of that video. It says here, let's go here. I kept quoting it, might well get it. It said, remember, I pray thee, whoever perish being innocent. So, or where the righteous cut off. So right here, it's telling you, it's plain and simple, no anyone perish being innocent. You got to pay for what you have done in your past life, in this life. That goes over a lot of people here, you know what I'm saying? No new thing under the sun. So we don't know what the hell we did in our past life. You're going to pay for it in this life, So judgment is the place under the sun. And what is under the sun? The earth. So, it's plain and simple. So that's where we at right now. Anyone perish being innocent. No. Why do these people die the way they did? Because it was judgment from Yahweh by Hashem Abishai. Verse 8 says, even as I have seen they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness, reap the same. So one thing about it, you sow in wickedness, you shall reap the same. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, you sow in righteousness, you shall reap the same. So let's read it in NLT. Said, my experience shows that those who plant trouble and cultivate evil will harvest the same. So one thing about it, so you gonna get the same result. So you gonna what? Reap what you sow. Verse 9 said, by the blast of the Almighty they perish, and by the breath of his nostril are they consumed. So, you hear today, you go tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? That's where it goes. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, Lord can take anyone at any given time. Lord sanction, you know what I'm saying, whether you live or whether you die. So, the Lord is in perfect control. No one is going to escape the hands of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. So now let's go to get the rest of these video. And after the video, we'll start the lesson. And I hope that you will get edified.
Okay, so let me get this straight. This man here, 24-year-old Derica Moore, went on a shooting spree in Mississippi, killing 6 people across 3 separate locations. Some of these people were his family members. At the first location, he killed his father, his uncle, and his brother, stole his brother's truck from that home, drove to another home where he attempted sexual battery. He killed a 7-year-old girl at that home. They thought it was another child that might have been shot because it was a weapon stuck to the side of another child's head. Now, the 7-year-old girl that he killed, that was his cousin's daughter. He then gets back in that stolen vehicle, drives to another location in western Clay County. That location was the pastor's home, the pastor to the church where the Moore family goes. He murdered the pastor and another individual at that home. They finally caught him because he ditched that vehicle that he had at first. He picked up another vehicle from the pastor's home, so they ended up taking this man into custody. At first, they were trying to get him with first-degree murder, but they are upgrading that to capital murder, and the death penalty is definitely on the table. Let me know if you guys heard about this. Do not forget to like, follow, and share for more news stories, and thank you for watching.
A man was arrested after allegedly killing 6 people, including his father, brother, and a 7-year-old in Mississippi. The suspect, Derica Moore, 24, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, which will be upgraded to capital murder with additional murder charges. It started with a 911 call at 6:56 p.m. about gunshot victims at an address on Blake Road in Cedar Bluff, a small and rural unincorporated community in western Clay County. Investigators determined that Moore first shot and killed his father, Glenn Moore, 67, Uncle Willie Ed Geens, 55, and his brother, Quentin Moore, 33. Moore then allegedly stole his brother's pickup truck and drove to a home on Blake Road. He allegedly broke into the house and tried to sexually assault someone. He then allegedly shot and killed a 7-year-old girl in the head. The sheriff said the girl was the suspect's second cousin. Her family identified her as Michaelia Gwynns. Investigators believe Derica Moore then drove to another home on Salome Griffith Road. That's where investigators found the truck hidden behind the house and found the bodies of Barry Bradley and Samuel Bradley. Investigators don't know of a motive at the moment. He's scheduled to have a preliminary hearing on Monday.
So now let's start today's lesson. We'll start here first in Luke chapter, let's go to Luke chapter 12, just rolling in the spirit. Luke chapter 12, let's go to New Testament. Let's see, Luke chapter 12 and Luke chapter 12, and we'll start up at verse 51. But we're seeing right now that, this look very bad, One thing about it, hoping and praying that the Lord have mercy upon all, that was unalive, and this wicked devil that did this deed, Lord, he's going to be judged. Everyone is responsible for what their deed, whether it was good or bad. The Lord is getting ready to come back, and He's the ultimate judge. So, this is going, He's not gotten away with a damn thing. Let's go here, even though He might get judged on this side, but the Lord is the ultimate judge. Let's go here, Luke chapter 12, and we'll start up. Sorry about the scrolling, but the blue letter, it's like this. It just takes a little time. Let's go here. Let's start up at verse 51. Luke chapter 12 and verse 51. It said, "Suppose ye that I am come to give peace on the earth. I tell you, nay, but rather division." So right now, the Lord's causing this, this great divide. People, constantly rising up against another. The Lord's calling that division because we right upon what a judgment. You know what I'm saying? Let's read verse 52. It said from henceforth there shall be 5 in one house, divided 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. Verse 53 said, "The father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father. Said the mother against the daughter, and the daughter against the mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law." So the Lord is the one that's causing this division against each other. A man foe shall be of his own household. That's where we at right now. That's exactly what we seeing. So we seeing that this man right here, he unalived his father. He unalived his brother. He unalived 2 brothers. Also, he unalived a 7-year-old. Let's back it up a little bit more. Let's go here to Matthew's chapter 10. We'll start up at Matthew chapter 10. I think it's around verse 34, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go to that right quick. Let's get a little bit more on that. Back it up a little bit more. So we seeing right now the Lord's calling this division. We're gonna see a lot of people, that once you think that is your family member, they're going to turn against you, and also will have you put to death, or they will put you to death. So the Lord's calling these things to happen. The Lord's constantly bringing forth judgment left and right. So a man foe is of his own house, or foe is a what? An enemy. Let's get it right quick. I'm a little slow in the blue letter. It's verse 30. I start at verse 34. It said Matthew chapter 10 and verse 34 said, think not that I am come to send peace on the earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. That sword goes into judgment. So that's exactly what we're seeing left and right. The Lord loves everyone. Everyone can be saved, but the Lord's constantly bringing forth judgment each and every day. And a lot of people coming unalive left and right. But guess what? It is going to increase. Verse 35 said, "For I am come to set a man at variance, or divide against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law." Verse 36, here's the point. So a man foe or enemy shall be they of his own household. So that's exactly what we're seeing left and right. Let's read in NLT. So your enemy will be said right in your own household. So exactly what happened. They was unaware that they had an enemy. This man right here, whatever was in his mind, which in fact the Lord put the spirit on him to do this thing, a spirit of vengeance. And he went on and unalived 6 people. And one thing about it, and then they took him in like it was, it didn't have no problem. So because the job was done. It is judgment from the Lord. So that's exactly what we're seeing left and right. He says here, he that loveth his father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. So I just got a little bit more of that, but we seeing right now that, your true family basically is the one that doing the will of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. And one thing about it, a lot of people are very close to their family, which in fact we love our family. We love our loved ones. But one thing about it, when things like this happen, which in fact this man right here, he was not in the truth. But one thing about it, judgment was brought down. And the Lord used him as a spirit of vengeance. So you can kind of understand it left and right. But you don't want to get caught up into, even though we love our mother, we love our father, we love our sister, we love our brothers, our aunties, we love our family. But guess what? If they're not doing the will of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, are not a part of the election, they're not your family. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be totally destroyed. Now, I know that went over a lot of people heads, but that's a whole nother story. So now let's go here. So a lot of people are going to have to take accountability. You know what I'm saying? So you can't say that, I was raised wrong. So I came up in a household, I was abused or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So he could come with that and say I was abused, I was raped, whatever, but guess what? Let's get this right quick. So, everyone is going to have to take accountability what they have done in the body, whether it was good or bad. You know what I'm saying? So let's go here. Ezekiel chapter 18, Salakia, and verse 20. Let's get this right quick. Just the Spirit is bringing me to this right here. It says here, Ezekiel chapter 18 and verse 20. It says, the soul that sinneth, say it shall die. Said the son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither the father bear the iniquity of the son. Said the righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. So right here, it's you can't, you're going to have to take accountability for what you have done. You can't blame it on anyone. My father was this way. My mother was this way. I did it because of this. I had a bad upbringing. I was neglected when I was young. I was abused. It does not make a bit difference. You're going to have to pay for whatever you have done. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it goes, So no one, no one going to be responsible for your sin but yourself. So this man right here have blood on his hand, and he going to have to go in front of the judgment seat of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? Let's read it in the NLT. It said, a person who sins is the one who will die. Said the child will not be punished for the parent's sin. Said, and the parent will not be punished for the child's sins. Said righteous people will be rewarded for their own righteous behavior, and wicked people will be punished for their own wickedness. So see how that's plain and simple. So you're gonna reap what you sow. If you reap in wickedness, you're gonna sow the same. You know what I'm saying? So one thing about it, that's gonna be judgment from the Lord. They shall know it, death by pain. So we have a lot of people going around saying, oh, it wasn't my fault. My parents, they abused me. I was great. All these different damn excuses. But your ass is getting ready to pay for that. The Lord already know how wicked your ass was in your past life. You're gonna pay for it. So it's no new thing under the sun. Let's go here to Matthew chapter 24 and verse 13. Just a few scriptures I'm bringing out. It says here, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So that's exactly what we're seeing. The love of many is constantly waxing cold. We're constantly seeing what? Increased violence. All sorts of mass shooting, all sorts of killings. So one behind another. We're constantly seeing it left and right. And then when you go into that word cold, it goes into psycho. Someone that is very aggressive, very cruel behavior, someone that what they would call mentally ill, or someone that, what you call psycho, psychotic. But one thing about it, we know that this is the will of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, so right now, it says, so, a lot of people are very dangerous. A lot of people are very violent, but that the Lord, we seeing that the Lord is constantly bringing for that judgment. Salakia. Just a little bit excited in the spirit, but as we're seeing right now, the love of many is constantly waxing colder left and right, and many shall wax cold. Let's read this once again. It says here, Matthew chapter 24 and verse 12 said, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So right now we're seeing iniquity constantly increase. Violence is in the land. One murder behind the another. One unaliving behind another. So it's constantly increasing. Wickedness is great. And also it said, shall the love of men shall wax cold. So people gonna have a mindset of being very violent, or very dangerous. That people are very unreasonable right now. That's what we constantly seeing right now. People are very unstable. That's where we at right now. So let's go to this here. Let's go to Hosea. These random scriptures. Hosea chapter. That's in the Old New Testament. Let's see here. Hosea chapter. Let's see what chapter that was in. Lord, bring it to me. Hosea chapter 4. Hosea chapter 4. And let's go straight to the point of verse 2. It said, by swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out and blood touches blood. So that's exactly what we constantly seeing left and right. Constantly, seeing increased violence. We constantly seeing more mass shooting, all sorts of senseless killings all around the world. No respect of person, whether they're young or old. In their middle age does not matter. So judgment is constantly being brought forth. That's reading in the NLT. It said, you make vows and break them. Say, you kill and steal and commit adultery. It said, there is violence everywhere. So one murder after another. So that's very clear. It is violence everywhere. That's what we're seeing in Minnesota, in Portland, and also right here in Mississippi, where it was engineered or manufactured, but it's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Al-Shai. A lot of people might say this is a psyop. A lot of people might say it's crisis actors, false flag event. Some people might say this MK Ultra. But one thing about it, we know that the Lord is in perfect control. So let's go here. So the Lord's caused these things to happen. They think the Lord love everyone. Everyone can be saved. Let's get this right quick. Let's go here to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 39. I got to scroll down to it, right quick. But we're seeing that these things right here, the Lord's caused these things to happen right before our eyes. Judgment is now at hand. First, my judgment will start at the house of Israel. So you Negroes, you Latinos, you Native any, the Lord's going to get his house in order first. Then he's going to these heathen nations, starting with Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks of. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 39 says, see now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill, I make alive, I wound, I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So this is plain and simple right now. The Lord, what he said, I kill, I make alive, I wound. So the Lord got power over life and death. It's plain and simple. No one is going to escape his hands. Verse 4, it said, For I lift up my hands to heaven and say, I live forever. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it's here, man. You can't escape the hands of Yahweh Ba'ashim Al-Shai. So let's go here to Hebrew. Let's back it up a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? It's a fearful thing to fall in the hands of Yahweh Ba'ashim Al-Shai. Hebrews chapter 10, I think it's around verse 30, if I'm not mistaken. Let's scroll down to it right quick. One moment. Let's go here. Let's get a little bit more here. Let's start here. Let's start about verse 30. It's in Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 30 said, for we know him that has said, vengeance belongs unto me. I will recompense or repay, says the Lord. And again, the Lord shall judge his people. That's exactly what the Lord is doing right now. First, my judgment will start at the house of Israel. Verse 31 said, it is a fearful thing to fall in the hands of the living power, Yahweh Ba'ashim Al-Shai. And one thing about it, everyone is getting ready to gonna be responsible for their own sin. And the wages of sin is what? Is death. So we constantly seeing these things left and right. That spirit of vengeance is moving through the earth, and the Lord is in perfect control. Let's go here to Ecclesiasticus. Let's get this right quick. It's, because we already know right now this was a spirit of vengeance of Yahweh Ba'ashim Al-Shai to appease the wrath of him that made them. You know what I'm saying? To satisfy him. Who? Yahweh Ba'ashim Al-Shai. Ecclesiasticus, Sirach chapter 39 and verse 28 said, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of them that made him. You know what I'm saying? That appease going to satisfy. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about appease the wrath of them that made him, which in fact is Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. No one is going to escape his hand. So he was used as a spirit created for vengeance. Exactly what's happening. You know what I'm saying? The Lord put the spirit on this man and boom, he did, the Lord bidding, judgment from Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. Verse 29 says, fire and hell and famine and death, all these are created for vengeance. Verse 30 says, teeth of wild beasts, scorpions, serpents, and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. So we all know a lot of people have been eaten by what? A teeth of wild beasts, dogs, bears, and many other animals, and also we know that the animals are coming out of their place where we know we read upon judgment. Also, don't forget about what Leviathan, it's already rumors that, that his head is in the Caribbean and his tail is in Alaska, up there in Alaska, around Alaska, so you're going to see how this fan out. But we know that the Lord created this creature, So one thing about it, we know that the Lord's going to constantly bring forth his judgment. We know that we hear it is at the door. So let's go to our last and final script. Let's go here to 1 Peter. Let's go here to 1 Peter chapter 4. We close out here because the Lord's constantly bringing that judgment. And a lot of our people still are being rebellious to this day. And the Lord is constantly bringing it left and right. It's a fearful thing to fall in the hands of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. It says here, first said, for the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of the Almighty. And if it first begin at us, what shall be the end be of them that obey not the gospel of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua? So right now, judgment is now at hand. The Lord is getting ready to bring forth that recompense and judgment. The Lord said, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. I will repay. So that's exactly what the Lord is doing right now. So we're going to constantly see these things pick up. So we're seeing right now that 2026 is very prophetic. We're seeing that right now the Lord is constantly bringing forth these signs of the times. Also, we know that we're very close to our salvation. Judgment is now at hand. That's why we're constantly warning you. The door of repentance is constantly closing. And these things are going to constantly increase. You know what I'm saying? Till the Lord return. Through much tribulation, ye shall enter the kingdom of heaven. So the title of the day lesson, once again, is Mississippi mass shooting. Man's foe shall be of his own household. So I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua Ba'ashim Rekah Quadash. I like to say, Shalom, Shalom.